Hi, so I'm going to answer this question, which is a follow-up to the last video I did where I was talking about the various different YouTube education channel dramas, exits, and specifically I'm going to respond to the blog article that Income School produced, essentially giving their side of the dispute and sharing their angle. And then they actually shared the at-will employment agreement that Nate Black signed with them when they brought him on to be the face of Channelmakers. So I'm going to give you the TLDR, too long didn't read version snapshot, and then a more detailed on the other side. I'm going to sandwich into that my perspective of the business failings that they did, so my opinion, and then give you a little introduction to myself. So the last time I did this video, people like the introduction took too long, so I'm going to get right to it. It's only been 50 seconds. All right, let's go. All right, so legally, based on the at-will agreement, there are 3 clauses that Income School points out that gives them the legal standing that if they were to sue Nate Black, they would win. Before I go into that really quick, they look like, based on the blog article showing snapshots, showing the agreement, text messages, that they look like they're really wanting to just move forward and not really pursue legally, even though legally, Income School wins on this.
Thank you.
The 3 clauses in the agreement that make them superior if they were to sue is the clause that mentions the fact that their agreement, it's an at-will agreement. At-will means that they can fire you with or without cause, but the clause says it's a non-disclosure term or clause in that agreement. Non-disclosure not just means that, it doesn't just mean that Nate isn't supposed to disclose secrets regarding the algorithms, SEO, all that stuff to others. It also says that he cannot use that agreement for himself. And that's important because he started another channel. The second clause that they point out is there is a non-compete, non-circumvent clause, which means that he cannot compete on 3 bases. One is the subject matter, so he can't go after they sever ways, do a channel that's similar to what they do, YouTube education. The non-compete clause also has one that separates him by time. They say he cannot do that within 2 years. And the third thing is distance, which doesn't really make sense, but they said within 150 miles of their location, he can't do the same thing, which in the digital era, that one is not as important because you can create content from Bali or wherever Nick Nimmons is and reach all of the people across the world. But anyway, that's the 3 restrictions, and the non-compete, non-circumvent, and the non-circumvent part means that a non-solicitation portion means that he cannot go and poach editors or other people on the Income School staff for his own team. So that's in the clause of the at-will agreement that Nate Black signed when he agreed to be Channelmakers' face of their channel. Now, and the third clause that they mention is the fact that his work is a work for hire. And I mentioned this in this channel before. The work for hire essentially means that when someone hires you to create a mural or create some work, so do some digital marketing or to produce some content, work for hire means that they own the intellectual property of whatever you produce. They own that. You're doing it. You're getting paid to do the work, but you cannot take what you learned, take that content, take all that stuff and put it on your own account. You can't create a new channel and use that content because it doesn't belong to you. You have to create something fresh, or you have to have done something during your employment that's just for you that you can put in your channel. Anything you do for this channel or for this employer belongs to them. You don't have the rights to use it, to exploit it, to sell it, to distribute it, to license it, do anything to it because it does not belong to you. So those 3 clauses in the agreement, if Income School were to pursue it, they would win because Nate essentially, within I don't know how long of severing ways, started his own channel, doing almost essentially the same thing. And according to their receipts in their blog, he did it within 150 miles of where he did the same work for Channelmakers or Income School, and within the same 2 years. So totally violated. And here's the other thing is that when Nate lawyered up, Nate and his lawyers, and also according to receipts, did not dispute that he was subject to these 3 clauses. They just said it was not fair. His lawyer went forward to say that we cannot be held responsible for what other people comment or reply because you're losing people because they see Nate, they know Nate, people support Nate. Their response to Income School, to Channelmakers, unsubscribing, leaving Income School's course and things like that, all of those activities, lawyers saying we can't be responsible for what other people say. Like that has nothing to do with us. But at no point, based on the receipts, the lawyers and Nate say that they didn't think that Nate was responsible for the portion of the agreement that says he's not supposed to do YouTube education, he's not supposed to do it within 2 years, and he's not supposed to do it within 150 miles of where Channelmakers, where he produced that content for Channelmakers on their channel. So that's the too long, did not read version. So imagine what the longer version is. I kind of like it's kind of long anyway. Hi, for those of you who are new here, my name is JJ Gatt. I call myself the content creator attorney. I have 2 law degrees, one from Catholic, one from Georgetown. I passed 3 bars, New Jersey, Maryland, DC. I help fellow content creators decode the laws related to content creation, helping them understand the FTC disclosure rules, whether TikTok is going to be banned, all sorts of things, and helping management deals, brand deal terms. I'm here. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, I want to invite you to subscribe. Other thing I do, in addition to how-tos, be a better creator, I also talk about drama related to the creator economy, related to our creator business. And so that's what we are here. So if you're interested in that, I want you to follow along. Now, before I get into a little bit more details of what Income School did wrong, details of the legal things that I just told you, let's talk about the business things that they kind of did wrong in all of this. The business failing was to make the face of their channel a person. As you probably know, even YouTube on here, actually, if you take the YouTube education courses that YouTube has for free here, in the course, they have a section when they talk about when you're starting your channel, if you decide to be the face of your channel, you decide to have multiple personalities, be the face of it, here's some rules and things like that. So they even lay the groundwork. So that is definitely a common way that people do their channels. Think Media, who I mentioned in my last video, is a channel where they have multiple hosts, and you see on their channel any given day several different faces, which is great, which is fine to do that. So if you decide to make one person, if it's a team that does it, but only one person's a star, I think at some point early on, and I'm sure Income School has learned that lesson, and if you're thinking about doing this, you can learn from Income School, is you have to set up the parameter up front from the beginning to let the host know that they have to include in part of the programming awareness to the audience that you do not own the channel, that the channel that you're the face of is sponsored by, is owned by Income School, and to, as part of the programming, and let people know that there's other people. And then if it's possible, if you do have several faces that you want to be the front, make sure you cycle out and get those different faces in front of the camera periodically versus having one person. So they may not have known that Nate Black was going to be that big a personality, but he is, based on what their version of it on their blog. It seems like he had ego, like he was like, I'm in charge of this, it's my channel, I made this, it wasn't for me, this channel wouldn't be that big. And we know now, because Nate started his own channel, the number of subscribers he has is not as big. He's been at it since like late last year, and it's now halfway into 2024, and it's large, but it's not as big as it would have been had he had the full backing of the staff, the editors, the ideation team, the research team, all the people that made him, that Channelmakers blow up substantially because they had all that team in it. He doesn't have those folks anymore, and it shows. Similarly, this is like a little side note, when Nathan Moat left Think Media and started his own channel. He's has 3 videos on there. He's done okay, but if you look at the number of subscribers he has and the viewership of his videos, it pales in comparison to the subscribers and views he had when he was doing that for Think Media, which is a more established entity. He's been around for a while. But the fact of the matter is, a big personality alone is not enough to sustain and grow a large channel. There's lots of us who have big personality. I think I have a big personality. It's not really super big, but I still need editing, and I need to do better with my hooks. I need to have more graphics. If I had like a team where I do some ads, and there's a lot of different things that I would need to do to really blow up my channel, that without those resources, I'm just going to just be here, chugging along. And that's what's going on with Nathan and Nate, and going on with what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Anyway, that's what's going on with the other folks. So they're not pursuing legal matters, but they kind of like have their rights, and they can see, look, we told you, people who said, oh, Nate is the one who made this channel. No, he didn't. Look, he has his own channel. Look what's going on. So anyway, so that's the lesson there. Be careful when you hire a staff. You want a big personality to be in front, but you need to make sure you rein in that big personality earlier on and early as possible, and put the other faces in front and set up the parameters up front, and don't let them do whatever you want. I'm not saying they did. I don't want to pick sides on this, but just again, I'm just giving my perspective of what Income School wrote in their blog. All right, so let's get quickly into details. Just the little detailed stuff. Let's see, that I think you should take a notice of is, let's see, this portion here where they say the confidential information and they highlighted SEO techniques and other marketing techniques because that's key. And the folks who cannot disclose, let's go down specifically, are, it says employee, let's go down to the fourth line, says will not make use of information for his or her own benefit or the benefit of any other person or entity other than employer. So that's where when Nate took anything he learned from those years of being the Channelmakers, that all that doesn't belong to him. All the knowledge he acquired, he can't use that in his own channel. So that's important. Now for the non-competition and non-solicitation portion of it, I think the part where they say is that, all right, employee, let's go to pause. The employee further agrees that he or she shall not, whether directly or indirectly, undertake any act with the intent to disrupt, impair, or interfere with the business of employer in any way, whether by way of interfering with or disrupting its relationship with customers, which is the audiences, agents, representatives, contracts, or carriers otherwise. For in that language, it's like when they offer to go and explain things under the Channelmakers videos where they say we were no longer with Nate, and the people who were commenting all sorts of stuff, Nate said, hey, I'll come and help you. And according to Income School, when he did that, he'd already started his own channel. So with him underneath comments saying, hey, this is what's going on, it didn't take a brain surgeon or rocket scientist to say, oh, that's Nate, and click it and see, oh, here's another channel, let me go start it. So he did, by doing that, he violated that clause. It wasn't not indirectly, it was a direct relationship with the customers, which is like the audience is the customers. And also they have people who are members of their course. So that act alone kind of like violated that clause. And then the final thing is the work product, which means that all copyrighted aspects of the works made for hire. That you look at that. That's a standard language that says, they have the exclusive right to everything. So he can't do that. So those are the most important things. I'm not going to get into the other, allegations regarding, they say they gave him $10K to start his own channel or to reward him, and that they moved offices and he only came to pick up, he only came at the end of the day. He didn't help. The channel was slumping because I think across the board, I think there's, ebbs and flows in this market. People get, burn out and they leave. They don't have success and they stop following those channels. But then you have a whole lot of new creators that are looking for guidance and they're going to find these channels. So it's a constantly cyclical thing. I do think it's a slump. Summers are traditionally a slumping time anyway for the industry, but yeah, this is natural flow of business. So while they were on a slump, they did an assessment to, allocate portions of money, and they realized, wait a minute, dude, you haven't worked that much. I don't want to get into all that stuff because that's not the legal stuff. I'm just sticking to the legal stuff. I was only asked about the legal stuff. So it's my legal interpretation. It's a little more detailed. I hope that answers your questions regarding my legal perspective. And while it looks like they're not going to pursue actively Nate, they did make an attempt to ask him to stop posting content and delete previously posted content that's related to the YouTube that seemingly violates the non-compete clause of the at-will agreement that Nate signed. And here is the specific portion of their blog article when they mentioned that. And if you're interested in more content like this, I have other videos on this channel where I just talked about trauma related to the creator economy. So I'm going to put that playlist there for you to watch. And if you're interested in legal stuff regarding the content creation, I'm going to do a video that's coming up that's going to do the second half of states that have enacted laws to regulate the internet. I started with the first half. I never finished. So I'm going to finish that other half. And then also going to do FTC disclosure, like what you can and can't say. How do you disclose that you were given money or product and services in exchange for a review or an endorsement of a product on short form content like X, on short form platforms that only give you a lot of space for your caption. And yeah, I guess like X limited. So I'm going to do that next, like a follow-up. That's a future video. And now before that, I might do a video on some other stuff. Just stuff. All right, take it. Bye-bye.